All right, breaking news. Damian Lillard is officially traded to the Milwaukee Bucks. We're a little bit late to this, but we have jobs and other things going on. Of course, I'm welcomed by Bakari, longtime co-host of the show. How you doing? How you doing on this I guess last minute emergency call?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I felt it felt this is one of those things where it's like I had to hop on and share some thoughts and opinions because this is the news we were waiting for when back when I was a full time co-host. So
Yeah,
this
this
is
is
this is
groundbreaking, and
exciting news.
yeah, I mean, it's like Damian Lillard is kind of like the Miles Turner and the Bradley Beals of the world, where every single year we say that, man, they should get traded, but they never do. But regardless, here on your screen, first off, top right, you see Damian Lillard's accomplishments as a Portland Trailblazer. There, of course, he didn't want to run from the grind, but he was traded from the grind. And then on the bottom, you see the trade details. If you guys can't see the screen, I'll read it off to you. The Bucks received Damian Lillard, of course. The Blazers received Drew Holiday, which they're going to ship out here pretty soon. DeAndre Ayton, I don't even know who that guy is there. The Tuamora Kamara. Um, it doesn't matter, right? They received him, a 2029 first and a 2030 pick swap from the Milwaukee Bucks as well. The Suns, they received Yusuf Nurkic, Nasir Little, Keon Johnson, Grayson Allen, to give them a little bit of depth. And we'll talk about each individual team here, but just initial thoughts on this trade is Damian Lillard, one of the best point guards in the world, maybe a top two point guard, and it's arguable. He's now a Milwaukee Buck. Just
Yeah,
initial thoughts on this trade from you.
yeah, this is one of those trades where it's very very surprising. Not because he got traded, it's about who he got traded to. Because for months all we've heard is, he's going to end up in Miami one way or another. He's going to end up in Miami, and he is his tunnel vision locked on Miami. And then a few days ago, we hear reports that Toronto was a team on the radar. Toronto was actually, I guess, leading the trade talks. And then earlier today, I think they came out and said Toronto is no longer leading the trade talks. It's still Miami. And then boom, when I got the notification that he got traded to Milwaukee, I actually thought it was fake. Like I was like, oh, hold on, let me make sure this isn't one of those memes. But lo and behold, Damian Lillard is a part of the Milwaukee Bucks. And for the Bucks, this is a bittersweet trade. You get a superstar in Damian Lillard, who's proven that he's probably the clutchest player in the last 10 years, or arguably the clutchest player in the last 10 years. But you also trade Drew Holiday, who is a vet on your team. Not only a vet, he powered you. He helped. He was right there with Giannis, helping you get that chip to Milwaukee. This is somebody who helps anchor the perimeter of your defense, and you let him go. But those are the choices you have to make when you're talking about a player like Damian Lillard.
I think overall, my initial thoughts for this trade were, wow, it was a bit of a panic move from Milwaukee, and I get it. How is it a
Yeah,
panic if you're getting Damian Lillard? I think it's really been, like Giannis has been hinting at it for like over a year now that he's like, if the situation's not right, I'm leaving Milwaukee. And as a smaller market, it's not like free agency or free agents are going to go to Milwaukee. So
exactly.
they've seen how the LeBron situation played out in Cleveland. They've seen how the Melo situation played out in Denver. They're like, we're going to surround this guy before he's really frustrated and wants to leave. And I think it was a panic move in the sense that we're going to get someone to prove to Giannis that we're going to, at no matter what, we're going to show him that we're committed to Giannis. And with a move like this, Giannis might now he might now be a buck for life with a move like this, in my opinion. But you touched on it there with Drew Holiday, as he was the heart and soul of this team. I mean, if he's not the best perimeter defender in the game, he's number two for sure. I think he's still the best perimeter defender in the game. Of
Yeah.
course, if Kawhi was healthy, it'd be a different story. But Drew Holiday, it's shocking that he was traded from the Milwaukee Bucks. But again, that's the price you pay for superstardom. So for the Milwaukee Bucks, no doubt for me, I think it's an A plus of a trade for the sole fact that, well, one, you get Damian Lillard, and the pick and roll. I just randomly thought about it. The pick and roll between Dame and Giannis is going to be insane. But it's not only is it that you get Dame, it's that you have commitment now. You're showing commitment to Giannis, which is arguably, if not number one, the second best player in the NBA. So I mean, overall thoughts. Do you think Portland got enough for Damian Lillard, or do you think they could have gotten more from a different team?
I think when you add in that they, you
Within
know,
reason, because we know the Wizards would probably give a bunch.
right. Yeah. I mean, when you look at it from a standpoint of this is a player who asked to be traded and demanded to be traded and wasn't going to do anything until he was traded. Every team in the league knew Damian Lillard was up for grabs, but every team also knew that he wanted to go to Miami, and that unless you were Miami, you didn't really have a good offer in his eyes, and you might not get a committed Damian Lillard. I think in this situation, the Blazers got I think they got a good amount. I mean, you get a 2029 first from the Bucks. Who knows what's going to, obviously who
Right.
knows
I
what's
mean,
going to be
both
going on.
Giannis and Dame could be gone by that point.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, Dame might even be retired by that point. He been in the league, for forever by that point. And you get a pick swap too as well. Maybe the Bucks have a down year. Maybe both of these players aren't there, and the Bucks have a bad year. You get to swap picks with the Bucks, and not to mention, I mean, obviously you're going to ship Drew Holiday out. I'd imagine you're getting more assets for the future, and that maybe younger players and in late to mid first rounders for Drew Holiday. But you also have DeAndre Ayton. He's not too old. I mean, he's in his mid 20s. Obviously, he probably hasn't lived up to that number one pick, especially when guys like Luka Doncic and Trae Young went after him. But I mean, you're still getting a solid player in DeAndre Ayton. I think from the from the Blazers' perspective, you get a lot for somebody who everybody knew that you had to get rid of. And obviously, like you said, for the Bucks, it was a panic move. But I mean, like you said, how do you panic when you're getting Damian Lillard? It hurts because you trade away a guy who obviously Giannis was probably injured more last season than he's ever been in his career. During those games, the person who stepped up and led this team was Drew Holiday. If you look at the record that they had, obviously Giannis missed a lot of games. They don't have that same record without Drew Holiday. Now, obviously, you're getting Damian Lillard, who's used to leading his own team and being the head of a team for years. So I don't think you'll be lacking anything on the offensive department. But the culture is a little bit different. Like you said, Drew's a leader. A lot of NBA players look up to Drew as well because he is a role model. He was a leader in the community, and I think an underrated trade from Milwaukee to Phoenix was also Grayson Allen. Grayson Allen obviously has a history for being a dirty player, but he was also a 3-and-D type of guy on the perimeter. He played perimeter defense, and he can hit those corner threes if you needed him to, and occasionally create his own shot.
Yeah,
Obviously, you're looking at it like Drew and Grayson Allen probably both combined don't have the same offensive skill set as Damian Lillard, but this is a trade that sends shockwaves through three different teams, and so it's really going to be hard to judge this until you see it on the court.
absolutely. But I will say that I think, when you have superstars like meet up like this or team up is a better way to put it, there's usually an adjustment period. But just with how different these players are, the skill sets of Giannis and Dame, I don't think there's really going to be an adjustment period. I think we might see these guys be on the right track from day one, but we've seen crazier things happen. So, in my opinion, here I'll put it this way: are the Bucks immediate favorites for you to win the title next year with this move?
I they're I guess yeah. I guess I would put them in favorites to win the title, but I'd probably I guess out of the East give the edge to the Celtics. Obviously the Celtics did pick up Kristaps um this offseason as well, and they
Don't
did
forget
trade.
Derek White cut his hair.
Yeah, Derek Wright cut his hair, and obviously, they traded their probably their emotional leader in Marcus Smart, and yeah, they probably ruffled the feathers of Malcolm Brogdon. But I mean, when you look at that trade, they got interior defense, which they desperately needed and they also got a more perimeter shooting from a big. So I like the fit for that team, and I also like this trade for Milwaukee. Obviously, like I said, on paper it looks like a team that doesn't need a lot of adjustment time, especially you combine the shooting ability of Damian Lillard and the downhill attacking of Giannis. This team looks like right away they'll take off, but it's still hard to see. But I mean, those are the only true contenders I believe I see in the East right now. I mean, obviously James Harden's future in Philly is unsure as he's trying to get aim for a trade to Los Angeles Clippers. So, those are the really two heavy hitters out in East that I feel like. Obviously, there are a couple of teams out West, but these teams, the Celtics and the Bucks, I believe can both win a championship. I can imagine winning a championship next year.
Well, I mean, Evan Mobley is going to be Giannis next season, so but you know that's a different story for a different day. Moving over here to the Blazers side of things, as again the Bucks, good move. I think we both agree to that. For the Blazers, though, of course, Drew Holiday was acquired, but he's going to be shipped out. He might even reunite there in Philly, which could be interesting there to kind of come full circle with his career. He's going to be moved out, so we're not going to talk about him. They might get another first or two for Drew Holiday. For DeAndre Ayton, that's an interesting pickup to me because you have younger guys on your team like Anthony Simmons, like Jeremy Grant, who you just paid a bunch of money to, as well as Scoot Henderson. These are three guys that need the ball in their hands to be productive on the court, at least. That's what they're best at on the court. Maybe not so much for Jeremy Grant, but for Scoot and for Anthony, they need the ball to, be the best version of themselves that they can on the court. And then you bring in a guy like DeAndre Ayton. And this is a guy that I think it was a situation with the Suns where they were just like, we need to wash our hands with the situation because it's just a relationship that can't be salvaged at this point. And he's a guy that wants the ball in his hand. And if he doesn't have that ball, he kind of turns into, guys that has temper tantrums. Do you think getting DeAndre Ayton is a good fit for the Blazers? Saying that you have other young guys that need the ball.
I believe that he will be a lot more beneficial than I think given credit. I mean, he's been on a team where there have been multiple stars. Maybe he can kind of teach these young guys what it means to move the ball. Obviously, it's coming from DeAndre Ayton, who already has his own high motor issues and temper tantrums. But maybe he can shed a little bit of knowledge on things he's learned from the past. Obviously, he played the latter end of last season with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. Chris Paul was also there, so he knows what it's like to have shot creators on this team. And at Scoot, I believe that coming into the league as a rookie point guard, especially, I believe that he'll look to try and get everybody involved as much as he can while also making a difference scoring. So I think that as far as I don't think that ball movement or complaining about the amount of touches on a young team will really matter this upcoming season because, like I said, Anthony Simons. He pretty much is a young vet in his own right. Feels like he's been in the league for forever. Jeremy Grant, same thing. Like these guys are pros. They've been around. They can. I believe that anything they need to tell Scoot, they can tell him and have an open, honest conversation. And DeAndre Ayton is right there with them. They've been in the league for a while. They're still younger, but they understand what they need to do to all be cooperative and all make a difference on the court. Obviously, this is still a rebuilding team, but I believe that if everything goes the right way, if Chauncey Billups can really get this team to mesh, I think that this is only a positive move. I mean, you get a young big man who has the capability of averaging like 18 and 12, a solid 18 and 12. If his motor continues to run high, and that's what you have the chance to do this upcoming year, is kind of show him like, hey, this is what we have to offer. If you can be consistent, maybe we'll see flashes of what we can expect as years go on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well said there. Last thoughts here. I guess the Suns, they get, aside from a little bit of a downgrade at the center position, I guess that's arguable, but I would prefer Ayton a little bit over Nurkic. Maybe Nurkic fits what they need a little bit more of a selfless player, can stretch the floor, maybe at a more consistent level than DeAndre Ayton, and really just provide the space needed for guys like Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. Aside from that, they have some depth pieces, some guys that really have some untapped potential, like Nas Little, like Keon Johnson, Grayson Allen, like you mentioned earlier, solid 3-and-D guy who could be a starter. He can come off the bench. He can do a multitude of roles. He can even be the dirty work guy that comes in and just injures people like Kelly Olynyk. Just overall thoughts on the Suns really quick. I mean, they got depth.
Yeah, Nurkic, I think that this is a good move for Phoenix, only because DeAndre Ayton, obviously DeAndre Ayton at his best, I believe, is a better player than Nurkic, but he just wouldn't maintain that high motor. It's almost like, people question Anthony Davis motor. It's like times 5 with DeAndre Ayton. He'll have a good game and then he'll play like a complete bum for 2 weeks, and then he'll have a couple of good games. It's just the motor inconsistencies with DeAndre Ayton that I think, for as well with relationships within the organization, force them to trade for, Nurkic, who, like you said, is a selfless player. He's a bruiser. He'll come in there. He'll rough some people up. He's not afraid to, get in people's faces, but he's still a reliable, double guy. Like you said, they get Nas Little, who's younger, Keon Johnson, who's younger, Grayson Allen,
Gators. Sorry.
yeah, and Grayson Allen, who's a 3-and-D type guy. Not to mention you got some good pickups in free agency. You get
Hi,
Bol.
Mello.
You get Bol, you get Eric Gordon. You have some really good pieces. I think Phoenix was just trying to kind of build around what they already had. Obviously, in those three players, in Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker. And I think they've done a really good job. Here we go, another team who I can see, holding up that trophy at the end of a long 82 game regular season, plus, the added 16 wins at the end. I believe that this team has just as great a chance as anybody else in the league right now. And, they've only done, usually when you see teams that are very top heavy, like the Suns team, they have little to no depth. As we saw last year in the playoffs, that was one of their Achilles heels. They went and they fixed that problem in free agency and through trades. I believe they have a great chance this year.
Yeah, I mean, for a guy like DeAndre Ayton, who they were trying to move at the deadline, and there was multiple reports around the league that said he had no value, kind of like Rudy Gobert at that time. It's amazing what they got for him now because he didn't really turn it around much from the second half of the year. If anything, we only got more reports and more videos of him getting visibly upset and not showing 100% effort. Like you said, he didn't have the high motor at all times. And for a winning team or a team that has aspirations to compete for a title, you need a guy that's consistently there 100% of the time. But that's it. I mean, any last thoughts on the trade? I mean, we kind of went through every team and deep dove a little bit, but any final thoughts on the trade?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's just funny because I remember when DeAndre Ayton signed that deal with the Pacers before the Suns match, and everybody was like, "Suns, why are you matching this this deal?" The Suns, they turn it around and they say, "Hey, we're not going to let him walk for free. We're going to get something out of it," and they get what is that, 4 really good players around that team,
yeah,
and obviously Milwaukee. You get a superstar point guard. On paper it looks great. We shall see how it looks. On the court, obviously, we'll see if there are any huge differences in chemistry and defense. But that's to be determined. And I'm sure that anything that they have to go through, they can get that sorted out when you have 2 superstar players, 2 top 75 players of all time that's in that starting 5. So I believe that this is, and maybe with the new offensive pressure that you get with Damian Lillard, you take some off of Chris Middleton as well. So maybe he has a bounce back season where he doesn't have nearly as much pressure being a closer or anything like that. And, maybe we'll see a step up from him. Obviously, he was coming back from that, I think, meniscus tear from the season ago. But, maybe we'll also see a step up in Chris Middleton. So
absolutely. I mean, that's a super big lineup. It's going to be interesting to see how they play that lineup when the season comes around. But that is really going to do it here. We just wanted to, thank you first off for coming on. It was kind of last minute. I texted you like an hour ago and you were able to make time for us. So to come onto the show with an emergency pod, of course, Damian Lillard. I mean, blockbuster trade. We might not have a trade that big for a very long time, but
yeah,
as Bakari, you would know, and for the fans that have been keeping up, the 100th episode of the podcast part of the show is tomorrow. And I did some research. I crunched the numbers, I guess is the way to put it. And if you can follow along on the screen, I know the mouse is kind of smaller here. Ironically, the first episode you ever did had Damian Lillard on the cover, and it was over here, the 30th or 31st episode of the show. It was predicting the final standings, for the rest of the season. And that was your first episode. And you had 48 episodes until some things happened. And
yes.
And then you came back on last week for the week 2 predictions all the way down here. Today was technically your 50th episode. So 50 out of 100 episodes. I guess if you guys are listening at this point, I want to say that for me to start this podcast, there was only one person I really wanted to trust to be that co-host, that I was excited to, maybe if we can get him on to be a co-host, I think that could take this podcast to another level. And let me tell you, I mean, we had like 50 subs when you joined up here at this episode here. By the time you left, we were he had a couple hundred. So, quick thoughts. I mean, again, best co-host in the world. Thank you for 50 episodes at this point with the Damian Lillard video today. And I mean, any thoughts about the podcast to this point and your just experience here?
No, yeah, it's been uh fun to watch how much it's grown because like you said, we didn't have the biggest following ever when I joined it, but it was fun every Tuesday and Thursday. We go in there, I go, we record, and it was fun. It was literally just like talking sports. Obviously we had things we had to follow depending on what it was, but I mean, even through the dead parts when both seasons were ended and we were doing fantasy drafts, it was fun. And then we look and see, oh wow, this video has a couple thousand, 1,000 or so views, and it was just fun to see that, see how big the numbers got and evolve over time. And obviously, like you mentioned, for some unforeseen reasons, but good reasons, I had to
Oh, absolutely.
kind of take
Yeah,
a
no
step
shame in it.
back. But any time I can be on it, even if it's just part time for a week or so. This podcast, it still means a lot to me to be known as the co-host who helped come on board. And it's been, I thank you for having me on it, and it's been nothing short of fun every single time we do it. It's just it feels like the first time, and it also, it feels natural too as well. So maybe I'm not the permanent co-host, like I once was, but by all means I still consider myself a co-host, as I plan to, this won't be my last episode. I plan to make any appearance I can, and it's been fun
Yeah, no,
watching how much
absolutely. I mean, we
it's
like I
grown.
said, anytime I can get you on the show, I'm going to because like you mentioned, I mean, and I mentioned the biggest growth came when you were here. So thank you for that. But I mean, I want to ask you, out of all the shows we did, I think we did 48 from the time that you started to the time that you departed. Was there a favorite episode of yours, or was it today's episode, or even week two predictions? Because I know, for one, for me, I'll say this: the reason, or the moment that I realized that okay, we have something special was, well, first off, this video here, the first ever one you came on, we had a couple hundred views and we had a bunch of people subscribe to the channel. So boom, that was immediate. But then when we did the duos here, we ranked the top 10 duos in the NBA. That
Yep.
video popped off. And then right after that, that was Tuesday. So then the Thursday after that, when we record this video here, which is kind of hiding, we were predicting, we had some bold predictions for the rest of the season. And that video to this day is the highest viewed video on the channel, where that hit about 3,500 views. So absolutely insane. And I mean, for the analytics side of things, that was my favorite episode with you. But do you have a favorite episode just on, in your time here?
I think if I had to pick a favorite episode, I believe it'd be the All-Star Draft episode where we drafted our All-Star teams.
Which would be right,
Only
yeah.
because I think I did a very, very, very good draft, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, I
But
remember
that
to this day. I took Laurie Markkinen and I screwed the rest of my draft up. So
yeah, yes, that one. I mean, but it's hard to say which episode is my favorite because I like I said. I mean, I guess it would be a little bit hard to believe, but it all episodes to me were fun. Like there was never an episode I was like, man, I really don't want to talk about these topics, or there wasn't a lot going on. All the episodes meant a lot to me. Even the fantasy draft episodes that we did, all of them, the mock drafts that we did, and I think it was like the second NFL mock draft where I got slandered for having like Mozzie Smith go somewhere.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, but that's all. Those are memories. Those I loved every second of it. So it's hard to pick one, but that All-Star draft, it does stand out to me only because I vividly remember you taking Lowry Markkinen, and then that kind of just opened the opened the gates for me
Yeah, it got
to
ugly after that. It got ugly after that.
yeah. And I think the 2010s one was also a really good one.
Yes, yes.
Seeing some of those throwback names in there, drafting teams. Obviously, my team back then, it didn't have a lot of chemistry, but we had the talent. I'm taking that team over anybody, baby. So, but
Um,
it's all been fun for me.
yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you again. It was last minute to get you on the show, and thank you for showing up to the show, and of course, having a good time talking about the Damian Lillard trade. But that is going to do it. I'll let you get out of here. And of course, tomorrow we're going to have the 100th episode officially on the podcast. And of course, Friday we have some fantasy stuff coming up. But thanks again, Bakari. It's always fun.